How are you? My name is Michelle Connor. I'm your VCS for Living Environment. And today we're going to be looking at using Google Docs to annotate text in science. So the first thing we got to do is we have to set up our Google Doc. So you'll notice on this lesson, that's again from Teach Hub, Unit 6, Day 13, there's a text built in. So I'm going to scroll down. And there's a CK12 text here. So when you click and you open this, it brings you to this page. This is mutations and causes. So what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to copy this and paste it into a blank Google Doc. So I just opened a blank Google Doc, I copied, and I'm going to hit paste. Now there's some things, so the title didn't, so we're going to go in, we can grab the title, copy, paste. Sometimes you have to move down the pictures. I'm gonna put my title here and then I'll move it. Sometimes the hardest thing with setting these up is working on the formatting. So some teachers love to leave the pictures just as they are. My kids get overwhelmed by the amount of pages they see. So this is actually a relatively short article. It's not long. There's a chart, picture. Again, there's a video if you wanted to input the video link. That's a good idea too. But one thing I like to do is I like to make these a little bit smaller. Depending upon the text, I like to wrap the text just to make it a little bit neater. So it's really important that you get a good format down before you start anything else. I like to make sure things like the title should end up with the title here. And then you can decide whether or not you want the summary and review questions to be included. So this, I don't want to do the review questions with my kids, so I'm going to just take them out. So that's really the kind of cool thing is when you're making the article on a Google Doc, it's easy to kind of edit and change based on what you want it to do. And we'll make sure it has a title. So this is 4.9, mutation. And now we're ready to actually start the annotations. So another thing that I did is I put in some annotation directions. It's really important to tell the kids how you want them to annotate. And I like to put any of the major directions in a text box so it's kind of separated from the text. And I usually turn it yellow so the kids understand that that's a direction. And I also love to set the parameters. So for this text, it's not super long. So I like to, this one may even be better just for 3 annotations, but I like to set a parameter. So if you say ask questions while you're reading, you may get kids that ask 15 questions, and then you're going to get a kid that asks 1 question and isn't really doing enough thought to really get the point of why we're annotating. So that's the first thing, is set some parameters and make sure you have directions. The second thing is do not just have your kids highlight information. And because what happens is the kids go in and they want to get credit for their work. And they just sit here and they're like, okay, this is important. This is important. I'm going to highlight this, highlight this. Oh, this is bold. I'm going to highlight this. And now it appears that I just did my work, but I actually put no thought into it whatsoever. So do not ask the kids to just highlight work. The whole point of annotations is to have them thinking while they're reading. And this really helps to build on discussions. This asking questions technique really helps to get the kids thinking deeper into a scientific text, as well as get a kind of jump off for a discussion. So the way I like to do annotations in Google Docs is to use the add a comment feature. This is great. This is almost like the equivalent of writing your thoughts in the margins. That's how we think of this. So when you highlight a piece of information, you'll notice this pops up. And this little blue square with a plus symbol is add a comment. And now what you can do is you can ask your question about this situation in here. So for instance, it says, what does radiation contamination do? It says it mutates DNA. The Chernobyl disaster was a nuclear accident that occurred on April 26, 1986. So as I'm reading, I like to model for the kids what I'm actually thinking. So we do like a think aloud. So I read them the sentence and I'm just like, that happened a while ago, but I know radiation's really serious. So one question I have is there still issues from the disaster today? Are there still DNA mutations that are occurring? Now, there's going to be times where you can ask a question that as a teacher, you obviously know the answer to, but that's not the point. It's really to say, as you're reading, something pops into your head. Sometimes you may know the answer to it, like sometimes the question has an answer, and sometimes it doesn't. So I like to ask both questions that like I might know the answer to, but I don't really care that there's an answer to the question. I care that as you're reading, something pops into your head, you have a question about the text, put it down. And now this is, if you click out of it, this automatically highlights whatever you added a comment to. So it's really important that whatever they highlight is connected to the comment that they added. So we know that this one has to do with this sentence. If they just highlight 2 letters and try and add a comment, that's not very helpful. So we want to say, okay, this is the piece of text I'm looking at. I'm going to add my comment. And this is the question I have based on this text. And then you'll see these running on the side. So this annotation feature actually works really well on iPhones and iPads. So you'll see the same text that I had projected on my computer. So you'll notice the one annotation that we did on the computer is actually still here. So if you can't really see it in the margins because it's on the iPad or the iPhone, but if you click on it, you'll notice that the annotation will pop up. And you can actually, if there's multiple, you can view all the annotations that you did, or as a teacher, if you're grading on an iPad, in the same spot, which is really cool. So the way kids do this is they would actually pick the piece of information. So they highlight, hold down, move the cursor so it highlights the entire piece that they want to do the annotation for, and they would do add comment. Then they can type their comment. As they type their comment, they would just hit that send button. Now you'll notice there's 2 comments. So if they click on it again, they can go in and they can edit it if they want to change their thing, or they can go ahead and delete it. And now you'll notice that they could see all the annotations on here. You'll notice that I have 2 different login names right now. So you'll see whoever actually wrote the comment will be on top. You could see what time they wrote them.